Hello all you beautiful people, it is Mandy and welcome back to another episode of Let's Populate. Just like in last week's episode, we got our Dunkin' Donuts and we even had a protein shake today because we are on our health grind. So sit back, relax, and let's get ready to create these Sims. Today's family is actually a little bit different just because these ones are actually inspired by real life people that I do know. And for whatever reason, were in my subconscious the other night and I dreamt about them, so here we are creating them in Sims, just so we can get them out of my mind for good. I'm sure it goes without saying, but I should make you aware that all these names are different and their backstory that I'm going to give you has literally nothing to do with anything about them. It's pretty much just an exaggerated version of who these people are, and to be fair, I haven't even spoken to them probably since high school, maybe even middle school, so I don't really know anything about them, just what I see on Facebook. Speaking of which, a fun IRL story about this boy. I had a crush on him in 3rd grade, and my friend told him, and he told me to stay away from him. And I probably should have taken that as an omen for my dating life, but here we are today. But moving on, this household is strictly just base game, which let me tell you in itself was such a struggle for me, because if there's one thing your girl hates, it's that base game eyeliner because it looks so drawn on and it stresses me out. This is also one of the rare cases where these Sims do actually have family, so don't be surprised one day if they pop up on the gallery or you see any videos of them being created as well. But moving on to their story. And once again, this is completely made up. All the names have been changed. Nothing is their first name, nothing is their last name. And honestly, if anything even is remotely similar to their story today, it is 100% completely coincidental because I have not spoken to them in years. Alright, now that the disclaimer is out of the way, let's get started. Jordan and Jamie met their sophomore years in high school. They did briefly date for a little bit, but it was nothing ever too serious. And by nothing too serious, I mean they didn't even have a boyfriend-girlfriend title. They just hooked up here and there, and he took her out on a few dates. And to top it off, they had to do all this in secret. You see, Jordan's dad was a very highly respected family businessman over in Willow Creek. And Jamie was raised by a single mother in Oasis Springs. So they seemed to always be looked down on. Once Jordan graduated college, he actually got back in touch with Jamie on social media. She was still working that same retail job that she had back in high school, so that made her a little bit hesitant. It made her wonder if she went back to that same old routine that she had back then with the same people, if she was going to be stuck. But Jordan was very persuasive. He tried really, really hard to get her out with him, so he could prove to her that he has changed. He didn't care what his family thought, what his father's clients would think. He just knew that short fling that he had back when he was 16 really had an impact on his life. Jamie did eventually cave, and she agreed to meet him for a cup of coffee over in Windenburg. There they did reminisce on all the good times that they had back in the day, hanging out under the bleachers and sneaking around in janitor's closets, and even found a grassy area outside the coffee shop where they stayed out till early morning, just stargazing and talking some more. It was then they realized they might be able to make something out of this, but they did still have Jordan's family to worry about. Especially when Jamie got pregnant very quickly after they just got back together. As expected, Jordan's father didn't take the news all too well, and even offered her a pretty decent payment just so she would stay out of Jordan's life. Especially when he found out that Jamie's mother also got pregnant around the same time, and she didn't know who the father was. Jamie did understand, and she was ready to reluctantly take that payment and move back to Oasis Springs. She had it all figured out. Her and her mother were going to raise those babies together, and she was going to stop tainting Jordan's family name. However, she was very pleasantly surprised that Jordan wasn't going to let her do that. He got a job over in Oasis Springs so they could be close to her mother, and they could still be together raising their baby girl. Jordan's mother was able to talk some sense into his father, and while he still didn't agree, he did decide that having a granddaughter looked a whole lot better on his family man image than disowning his son. And now they are living the lie of one big happy family. But Danny does have 2 parents and at least 2 grandmothers that do genuinely love her. And who knows, maybe the grandfather will come around. And we did reach the end of the video, which means I'm going to get going. So feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe, and our next Let's Populate video will actually be with the new pack. So stay tuned for that, and I will talk to you then. Bye.